Sure, one last kick. This is gonna be it. This is the moment. Vicario kicks this. And Liverpool are there. Liverpool are Premier League champions. And there it comes. Crystal Palace, for the very first time in their history, are FA Cup winners. Oh, he's found the net. Oh, what a goal. Kvaratskhelia is through, wants to add a fourth, and does so. Ahmad, oh my goodness me. That is absolutely unbelievable. Rice again. Oh! You thought he couldn't beat the first one. He's gone and bettered it. Another whip ball in. The header is in by Virgil van Dijk. Incredible. A very good afternoon, welcome to Premier League Live on this Sunday afternoon as we get underway with a lot of action in two of our games this afternoon. Early doors were at Old Trafford as Manchester United, chasing Champions League football, take on a pretty lacklustre Crystal Palace side this side of the calendar year. Certainly not a team in good form, but a Man United team that have a bit of chasing to do of their own as they look to try and overcome Aston Villa, who lost yesterday. Alongside that, at 2 o'clock, Brighton host Nottingham Forest and Spurs head to Fulham in the 2 o'clock kickoffs. And it all comes to a finale later on in North London as Arsenal, the league leaders, look to respond to City's big win last night to extend that gap at the top back to 5 points. But they have a Chelsea side who are also in a fight of the Champions League of their own. Lots to really get your teeth into this Sunday afternoon in terms of the Premier League. A quick look at the race for the Champions League. Of course, Aston Villa in third, but they played a game more and their goal difference is worse than United, so United win today. They will go up to third. Liverpool took a real chunk out of the gap between those and those above them yesterday with their 5-2 win over West Ham. That improved their goal difference quite significantly, and they're just behind Man United on goal difference. United were to lose today, there is a possibility they could be outside the top four come the afternoon's end. And Chelsea in sixth at the moment, where they play Arsenal a little later, will have a chance to respond to Liverpool's play yesterday and whatever happens to Man United at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Brentford still in the mix, they're on 43 points, so they're just hanging on the coattails of those teams above them. In terms of the run-in, well, they all still have big games on the horizon. All of the teams involved, bar Brentford, have at least 4 matches against an opponent in a Champions League race, or an opponent above them in either Arsenal or Manchester City. Aston Villa play Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool and City between now and the end of the season. United play Villa, Chelsea, Brentford and Liverpool between now and the end of the season. Liverpool play Man United, Chelsea, Villa and Brentford between now and the end of the season. All in their last 4 games, by the way. And then Chelsea play Arsenal away today, then head to Aston Villa next week before they have the 2 Manchester clubs back-to-back in a few weeks' time before they head to Liverpool 3 weeks from the end of the season. And Brentford's next couple of games don't involve these above them, but their 3 of their last 5 do, including all away trips at United, City and Liverpool. So a tall order for Brentford. But certainly it's Aston Villa that have fallen foul already this weekend. 2-0 loss to Wolves. Liverpool and Brentford winning narrowly. Brentford winning their game against Burnley and Liverpool putting 5 past West Ham yesterday. So will Chelsea and Man United respond with wins of their own that will take them up a couple of places in the table too? We will find out this afternoon. We will get to kick off from Old Trafford in a few minutes' time. Quick update from north of the border. Rangers and Celtic in the Old Firm. It's finished 2-2. Rangers led 2-0 at half-time, but Celtic's second half comeback got them all the way back to 2-2. So the title race in Scotland continues to excite. Yusuf Chermiti with 2 goals for Rangers in the first half before Kieran Tierney and Reo Hattati from the penalty spot got Celtic back into it. So it finished 2-2 there. But to the Premier League, as I said, Brighton Forest, Fulham Spurs and Man United Palace all are 3 games at 2 o'clock and they're all underway next. Welcome back to Premier League Live as we get ready for kickoff at Old Trafford. Let's have a look at the two teams for this one this afternoon. Starting with the home side, Manchester United. Zene Lamans continues in goal, a back four of Dallo, Yoro, Maguire and Shaw. In midfield, Caoimhan alongside Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes the captain in the 10, Cunha and Mbeumo the wingers, and Benjamin Šeško the lone striker. On the bench for United, Bayendir, Heaven, Malacia, Mazraoui, Moorhouse, Fletcher, Ugarte, Ahmad and Zirkzee. For Crystal Palace, they are a good distance clear of the relegation zone, so that isn't an imminent worry for them. 10 points clear of West Ham in 18th. They would love to push up to the middle of the table and into that cluster of teams that could still push for late European places. Dean Henderson starts in goal, a back five of Munoz, Richards, Lacroix, Canvo and Mitchell. Wharton and Kamada are in midfield, with Johnson and Sarr further forward, with Jorgen Strand-Larsen leading the Palace line. On the bench for the Eagles, Benitez, Klein, Riyad, Hughes, Sosa, Devaney, Pino, Uche and Evan Gersund. It is Man United against Crystal Palace alongside two other 2 o'clock kickoffs, and we're underway next. A very good afternoon. Welcome to Premier League Live this Sunday afternoon and what has been a dramatic weekend already in the Premier League. Lots of big results, and yesterday 3 games with mad scorelines, certainly at Turf Moor, at Anfield and at St James's Park. 4-3, 5-2 and 3-2. High scoring games, 19 goals between those 3 games yesterday, and across the weekend so far we've had a total of 24 goals across those 6 games, and let's hope for 3 more great games at 2 o'clock, and then it all comes to a close at 4:30, as I said. A London derby at the Emirates, Arsenal against Chelsea, and a lot on the line for both clubs in that one. Before we get underway, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on post notifications if you haven't done so already, as we're all but ready to get underway at Old Trafford. Man United, of course, red shirts, white shorts, black socks. And Palace in their 3rd kit, I believe, of white shirts, white shorts, white socks with red and white trimmings. The Man United team chasing Champions League football against the Crystal Palace side who are looking to make something of their season after the recent really poor run. One has been a torrid start to 2026, but spring begins today, and they're hoping that they can spring themselves back up the table, Crystal Palace. And no tougher place to go at the moment than Old Trafford. And we'll have a lot of task on there, a big task on their hands today, Palace. But they do have recent positives. They've won on each of the last 2 trips to Old Trafford, Crystal Palace. 2-0 and 1-0 on their 2 previous trips, and haven't conceded at Old Trafford since September of 2023. So certainly a happy hunting ground for the Eagles over the last few seasons. Here's Ismail Assar, linking up nice with Strand-Larsen. Wharton trying to get off quickly here. Palace, Kamada down the left hand side, it breaks for Mitchell. Mitchell's early cross, a slip in the middle, followed up by Kamada, who brings it down for Strand-Larsen, who struck off balance and well wide of the left post. But positive there from Crystal Palace right from the off. Jorgen Strand-Larsen joining Crystal Palace in the January window, and has turned up a few goals since joining, albeit both of his goals that he scored for Crystal Palace so far came in a 3-2 home defeat against Burnley. Only his 2nd appearance. Did get an assist in the game after that, but hasn't scored or assisted in each of his last 2 games, including against his former club Wolves, who Palace beat 1-0 in their last Premier League game last weekend. Well, that was a poor clearance by Henderson, and Fernandez wanted to take advantage, but the Palace goalkeeper was quick back into his rightful place. All played out to Mitchell. Underway those other 2 o'clock kickoffs as well. I'll keep you right up to date with all of those games right the way throughout the afternoon. Anything that happens, we'll let you know. It's Lacroix, switch ball, finds Munoz. Into Ismail Assar, who pings it across, and the scorpion attempt from Jørgen Strand Larsen goes unpunished for Man United, but again, the Norwegian getting involved. Great ball by Lacroix. Good first touch by Munoz to feed it towards Ismail Assar, who whips it across. Maybe helped along its way by the deflection off Maguire. And Jørgen Strand Larsen trying the audacious scorpion kick. Doesn't get any contact. The last touch off Harry Maguire. Behind for a Crystal Palace corner. On the left hand side, lots of bodies in the box in Palace colours. Lifted to the back post. Guided by Lacroix! And he finds the back of the nets. Guided by Lacroix. And Crystal Palace take the lead. Wonderful delivery. And a looping header to the back post by Maxence Lacroix. And Crystal Palace have an early goal at Old Trafford. That is the perfect start for the Eagles, who really started on the front foot with their first corner of the game. Beautiful delivery. It's all about accuracy. And this is a great header from Maxence Lacroix. Just gets the better of his man. Too easily beaten off the ball. There was Lenny Yoro. And Lacroix with a beautiful header. Senne Lammens couldn't see it until it was too late. And it dropped in the far post. Oliver Glasner's team in front in a matter of minutes. Man United 0, Crystal Palace 1. The perfect start for the visitors. And that's got the travelling Palace crowd singing at Old Trafford, and has practically silenced the 70,000 of a Man United persuasion, as an early goal would do. Look at that. Since the 1920 season, Palace have the most away wins at Old Trafford of any visiting team. 4 wins. More than Liverpool, Brighton and Arsenal, who all have 3. Yellow card coming out here though for a pull on Brian Mbomo by Daichi Kamada. That's the ultimate start though for the visitors, who you have to say since the start of the year have been well below the 2025 levels that Crystal Palace reached. Hard to match them continually, but in terms of their away form, they're actually not on a bad run. Unbeaten in the last 3 away games in all competitions, since a 2-1 defeat away at Sunderland back in January. Drew away at Forest, won away at Brighton, and then drew away at Zerzinski, shall I say, in the Conference League. You've already got off to the great start. That's a deep ball for Cunha. He couldn't get any contact. Nice deep ball. Cunha couldn't find anything on the end of it though. Goes for a goal kick to Palace. See it here. Yoro just shoved off the ball wrong-footed, and Maxence Lacroix rose. Clean header. And it's just the perfect kind of accuracy onto it. Into the far corner. And just drops in. Gorgeous. That's the most disappointing start for Michael Carrick and his team. They've been on a good run of form of their own. Man United haven't lost since their FA Cup game on the 11th of January here against Brighton. Currently on a six-game unbeaten run in the league. 5 wins and 1 draw in that run. Haven't lost a league game since their trip to Aston Villa before Christmas on the 21st of December. Their last league defeat. That equates to 10 league games in a row without defeat for Manchester United, the longest current run in the league. Goals early elsewhere to tell you about. We'll go to Craven Cottage first. Fulham against Spurs, and Fulham take the lead in that one. Great start for Fulham, although VAR are involved. Harry Wilson has seemingly put Fulham in front, but VAR will of course check it. And a goal at the Amex as well. Brighton have taken the lead against Nottingham Forest. Diego Gomez with the goal has given Brighton the lead. And that is more bad news for those two visiting teams. Nottingham Forest and Spurs are both in a relegation battle. And with Burnley winning, of course, albeit they're still a distance away, but closing the gap to those above, meaning they're not all safe. West Ham losing by quite a margin in their game means it is less of a imminent risk for Forest and Spurs, but still very much right behind them. Just 2 points the gap between Forest and West Ham, and 4 points the gap between Spurs and West Ham in the table. Both Forest and Spurs 1-0 down. Here's Ismaila Sarr, finds it wide to Mitchell. Mitchell trying to cut back, well blocked by Dalot. As Mitchell chases and wins the ball back quickly. Here's Kamara. Back inside to Camvo. Back to Maxence Lacroix. Richards. Down the right hand side. Munoz back to Chris Richards. Palace having all the ball here at Old Trafford inside the first 9 minutes. 61% of the possession for the visitors. Munoz. Jørgen Strand Larsen tried to play it through to Sarr, but miscued it. United can retrieve. Try and get themselves on the ball, get themselves up the field a little bit. Get the crowd into this. Here's Harry Maguire. Out wide it goes to Diogo Dalot. Nicely intercepted by Mitchell as it was going towards Mbeumo, but Mitchell couldn't find Jørgen Strand Larsen. Wanted a foul, not given. Here's Bruno Fernandes. Finds it to Cunha. Out wide it goes to Dalot. Casemiro. Out wide to Dalot again, and down the line to Brian Mbeumo, up against Mitchell. Mbeumo back on his left foot, swings it in behind, finds Kobbie Mainoo, who was well challenged, but United received the ball again. Here's Maguire. No room to manoeuvre there as he had to go back to Yoro. Now Dalot. United getting some of the ball now, and that's a nice feint to ball in behind. Cunha across. Right at Dean Henderson from a narrow angle. Always benefited the Palace goalkeeper, that sort of situation. Richards thumps it long. Maguire gets the first contact, but a second ball picked up by Strand Larsen, and now Munoz finding Sarr. Nice play by Palace again as Sarr fed it to Munoz. Back to Ismaila Sarr, who forced a good save out of Lamans. And then Munoz came back from an offside position to try and battle for the ball. See it here, really good play. It's Harry Maguire with the first contact, but no one chasing for the second ball for United. And Palace having free roam. Shaw gets wrong-footed. Sarr plays it to Munoz. Back to Sarr, who struck well with his right foot. Good save by Sene Lamans in the Man United goal. And then ultimately, Munoz comes back from an offside position to try and challenge, and that's what gets United the free kick. Palace looking sharper. Man United looking a little bit lethargic from the off here. Lacking a little bit of energy. Here's Luke Shaw. Back to Harry Maguire. Lamans. Pressure on Casemiro there as he played it back. Lamans plays it across to Euro with the Palace press, leaving some space. Euro tries to flip it across but gives it away cheaply. And picked up by Wharton, whose pass was blocked but picked up well by Daichi Kamada. Back to Mitchell. So far, Palace have been quicker to the ball. Even when they do lose it, they're quick to retrieve. That's nice from Richards. Back to Wharton. Across to Kamada. Really good start from Crystal Palace. Munoz. Wharton. Back to Richards. We talked about Palace's away record, but Man United have won each of the last 3 home league games. Spurs, Fulham and Manchester City. Kept a clean sheet in 2 of those 3 games. Not keeping a clean sheet here today though, but that Fulham game ended 3-2, which was needed a late Benjamin Šeško winner. After Fulham were 2-0 down and came back to 2-2. Šeško won it all over again for Man United. It was a few weeks ago, but the Spurs game seemingly much easier. Bryan Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes, after Christian Romero was sent off, United had all the control and all the possession. Took away all 3 points. Actually, in terms of their home form, it was something that was a real issue for Man United last season and what was a torrid campaign, but seemingly turned it up a lot better this season. Only 2 defeats in their 13 home league games this season. 8 wins, 3 draws. Picking up a total of 27 points, with only Villa, Arsenal and Man City picking up more home points than Man United this season. Liverpool on the exact same number, which is a real positive. But in terms of Crystal Palace, as it stands, with them winning this game, only one team has more away wins than Palace, and that's Arsenal. 29 points from 15. Palace, as it stands, winning this one, 23 points from 14 games away from home. Euro committing the foul, and free kick here to Crystal Palace. They've had all the play of the first quarter of an hour here at Old Trafford. It is Brennan Johnson over it. Right-footed fizz to the back post. Richards was up there, kept alive. Canvo couldn't find a teammate. Sene Lamans was there to collect. Lots of goals flying in at the Amex. 2 more goals since we last told you what is happening there, and it is 2-1 to Brighton in that one. Forest got a leveller. Morgan Gibbs-White got a leveller on 13 minutes, made it 1-1, and Brighton have now, in the last few seconds, just retaken the lead less than 2 minutes after being pegged back by Forest. So a lively game from the off there on the south coast. It's Brighton 2, Nottingham Forest 1. It's still 1-0 at Craven Cottage between Fulham and Spurs, and still 1-0 to Crystal Palace here at Old Trafford. Lots of early goals. Mitchell goes long. Maguire with the first header, but again the second ball picked up by Palace. And that comes back to Richards. Now Munoz with space down the right hand side. Finding Sarr. We'll play it back to Richards. Having it all their own way at the minute, Crystal Palace. Not much combativeness from Man United. Not really fighting back too much to this point. Munoz, heavy touch. Shaw was there, but again, no one in red to pick up the second. Canvo. Ball over the top by Lacroix. Headed down by Strand Larsen, but Johnson took a heavy touch which allowed United to intercept. And now Mbeumo couldn't squeeze it through for Benjamin Sheshko, and Mitchell's there to mop it up for Palace again. Ooh, Yoro just about got the end of that one. Now, Danny Welbeck, by the way, has scored the second Brighton goal at the Amex. Casemiro. Cunha lays it back to Fernandez. Has to go back to Maguire. Plays it out wide to Casemiro. Dalot. Casemiro. Palace narrowing the pitch as best they can and sticking to one side, trying to keep United squeezed. Dalot's poor ball back to Fernandez is picked up by Palace, and that's going to be a Crystal Palace free kick as Brennan Johnson was fouled by Diogo Dalot. And again, Man United really lethargic. Starting to turn into a bit of an issue for Michael Carrick. It can be a slow start where you can settle into the game, but 18 minutes and Man United have barely had a kick anywhere near Crystal Palace's box. That's a long clearance by Henderson. John Larson tried to hold it up nicely, won though by Maguire. Cunha takes it down, but I think the flag was up. See it here, Strand Larson gripped that by Maguire, but it's fair. Although Maguire claiming that he was booted in the head, but his head was nowhere near the boot of Jørgen Strand Larsen there, so either he was imagining it or trying to con the referee. Either way, nothing came of it. Shaw. Nice 1-2 with Cunha, back to Shaw. He couldn't link it up, but bailed out by Caoimhan. Dalot. Nice ball across. Couldn't quite reach it there, Fernandez. Wharton. Lovely from Jørgen Strand Larsen. Out wide to Daniel Munoz. Wharton back to Richards. Well, the referee this afternoon, Chris Kavanagh. VAR, Tony Harrington. For this one. Lots of VAR drama yesterday, especially at Turf Moor, where Burnley thought they'd got a late leveller to make it 4-4, but after a long delay, it's disallowed. A handball. Finished 4-3 to Brentford, which is a massive 3 points for Brentford, but massive disappointment for Burnley. Despite being 3-0 down in that game, got it all the way back to 3-3. And 20 gone here at Old Trafford, and Maxence Lacroix's early goal is the difference. Beautiful header from a wonderfully delivered corner. Inside 3 minutes. Manchester United haven't really been able to fight back since. At just the one shot so far in this game, Man United. Here's Richards. Closed off there, but he wanted to go down the line. Maguire with a header, but a little bit sloppy. And that header from Caoimhan straight out of play. Again, there seems to be no idea really from Man United. Some aimless play at the minute. It's like there's no idea, no intention. Just passing it and getting to the ball for the sake of doing it, without any real idea of where to go next. I mean, Maguire's won countless headers, but there's been no one winning the second ball. That's nicely done by Munoz. Here's Sarr in space, striding towards the box. Lays it across to Mitchell against Dalot, and Dalot does well to recover what was a terrific, difficult position. Yeah, nicely done, the reverse ball by Strand Larsen. Linked it up with Munoz, then found Sarr. Sarr laid it off to Mitchell, but good strong defender by Diogo Dalot. Saw the opposite fullback out of the way, and Luke Shaw's gone down. Luke Shaw has no stranger to injuries. Albeit this season, Luke Shaw hasn't really had much to worry about injury-wise. More or less an injury-free season, but doesn't look good here that he's gone down under no challenge whatsoever. Quite innocuous, and as he's being assessed here, he doesn't look like in a good way. Maybe something a little earlier with Munoz might have caught him, but other than that, I have to say he's been very integral to Manchester United this season. 27 games. He started all the games in the league this season. He starts this one, but he's back on his feet, Luke Shaw, which is a positive sign, but might just be his last involvement of the afternoon. And the change is going to be made here before Manchester United, so the number 23 coming off in minute 23 for Manchester United. And this first half has been anywhere near memorable for Manchester United, and not for the right reasons, as Nasser Mazraoui is going to be coming on to replace Luke Shaw. So Mazraoui for Shaw, straight swap at full back. Quick update from those two other games. Brighton still leading Forest by 2-1, and Fulham still 1 up against Spurs at Craven Cottage. Wharton. Convo finds Mitchell. I have to say, Palace have not been tested at all in this first half. Even possession, we've just had free roam. Long ball through the middle. Jørgen Strand Larsen wanted a foul there as he was held, but a little soft, says the referee. Chris Kavanagh. Maguire switching it to the left, finds Nasser Mazraoui for his first involvement. The Luke Shaw's departure. Messi Yoro. On the right hand side comes Dalot. Just needed an injection of energy, Manchester United. One chance, one corner, one tackle. Something that can inject a bit of energy into this game for them, because it's been really lacklustre. The first 25 minutes have been below any sort of energy levels expected. Not like a team that are chasing top 4, chasing Champions League. A team that seem at the minute to be playing for nothing at the minute, which is very strange. Man United to start the day with the opportunity to go third. As I said, a win here against Palace would send them above Aston Villa and really in pole position for Champions League places out of everybody competing. And that cluster of teams in and around between 3rd and 7th. You need to win this one first to do that, otherwise they'll be losing ground. Possibly. Richards up against Matej Cunha, who was well shielded by Chris Richards. Strong defending there by the American. Crystal Palace see it off. Well, he certainly looked like a wounded soldier, Chris Richards. He's got the eye patch, the arm, or the headband as well on. And the bandage certainly looks like he's been through the wars, but played pretty strongly so far. Dean Henderson's going to go long from this goal kick, but Oliver Glasner was trying to deliver a message to his players. I don't know whether they picked it up or not, but that ball from Dean Henderson is aimless. Straight out of play for a Man United throw. Wharton. Lacroix across to Richards. Now back to Munoz. And lots of possession for the Palace defenders so far, but Man United really not trying to put pressure on them, allowing them to have that possession. At the minute, trying to compete in the midfield. As Casemiro was caught there. The backtrack in Ismail Assar. It's going to be a free kick. As I said, Crystal Palace have won 4 of their last 6 away league games against Man United. Lost the other 2, having won just 2 of their first 22 visits to Old Trafford, drawn 3 and lost 17 on that run. So, as I said, much more positive run for them. But they did lose the reverse fixture this season at Sellers Park. It finished 2-1 to Manchester United. All the way back at the end of November. Palace did take the lead in that one as well. Jean-Philippe Mateta scored from the penalty spot in the first half, but a second half return from United. Joshua Zirkzee and Mason Mount with the 2 goals to turn it around. And Man United claimed a big result away at Crystal Palace. I have to say that was their first win at Sellers Park since July of 2020. 5.5 years between their 2 wins at Palace in most recent times. And if they can do what they did back in November and turn this one around, they will complete a league double over Crystal Palace for the first time since 2017-18 Manchester United. Dalot. Casemiro down the right hand side. Fed in behind from Mbomo, but well blocked out by Maxence Lacroix. Dominant in both boxes at the moment. And you know, try and up the ante a little bit for their own sake. Harry Maguire. He'd be the key, seemingly so far, to unlocking anything Palace are trying to stop with. Dalot, deep cross, but too deep and no danger at all for Palace. That one goes out for a throw-in on the far side. As I said, for Man United, we know what a win means for them, but for Crystal Palace, a win here would be their 10th of the season, and that would push them up to 11th in the table on 38 points. Just 2 points behind 8th place Everton, and just 5 points behind 7th place Brentford. So a late push for European football is not out of the realms of possibility for Palace with a win here today. Mbomo. Mainu. Casemiro, quick ball, finds Mazraoui. Has to find it back to Mainu though, as Palace make it a really congested central area. A bit of a deflection there from the through ball by Fernandez, but guided behind for the corner by Maxence Lacroix. Nothing more, but a corner for United that breathes the first applause from the Old Trafford crowd in the 31st minute. The first opportunity for those centre-backs to stride into the area. Harry Maguire, very obvious aerial threat. For the delivery from the corner. Maguire gets the contact and it's directed wide by Ismail Assar. Harry Maguire, said was the obvious aerial contact. He was the one that did get his head to it. And then Ismail Assar, reactionary, kicking it wide and away from goal for the corner. Back-to-back United corners. And Mbomo, left-footed delivery again. Up and away at the front post, this time by Strand Larsen. Not fully cleared away as the United player went down there holding his head, and Bruno Fernandes up against Daichi Kamada, claiming he was fouled, but it's a clash between the 2 players, I think, ultimately. You see it here again. Both going for the ball. Just kind of collide heads. There's nothing more than that. Both going for the ball, and there's nothing really you can complain about that. But we see this cross from the Maguire header. Does well against Wharton. Gets a good clean contact. Whether Henderson would have got on the end of it or not, the goalkeeper would have made the save, but Ismaila Sarr didn't want to take any risks and made sure he directed it away from goal. Deep cross there by Dalot, and Burmo guides it across, and Burmo was not given any time to get a shot off there as it scrambled clear. We're back to Maguire. Struggling to find the midfield passes at the minute, Manchester United. Not seen much of Mainu, Casemiro and Fernandes really linking up too much. That's an Mbermo ball. Too close to Dean Henderson. Trying to find Benjamin Šeško, but the Palace goalkeeper was well aware. Going to kick it away long here, looking for his centre forward in Strand Larsen. Nicely shielded by Yoro. Mainu brings it down. Leaves it off to Mazraoui. He's dead down a dead alley there. That's going to be a Palace throw. Oliver Glasner delivering a message to Daniel Munoz, his right wing back, who's about to take this Palace throw. Very good first 33.5 minutes for Palace. Started in the 4th minute when Maxence Lacroix headed them in front. That's nice play. Sarr goes in behind, goes down, but flag was up against him. Whether he was fouled or not is another question, but the flag was up. Chris Kavanagh. We'll see it again, is he? He's a good distance offside there. Good yard or two offside. Mazraoui does put a little bit of contact into the back of Sarr, but nothing in it. And he was offside anyway, so it doesn't matter. Another goal at Craven Cottage, and it's gone from bad to worse for Tottenham Hotspur. Alex Iwobi has doubled Fulham's lead. So, relegation threatened Spurs really are relegation threatened after being thumped by Arsenal in the North London derby last week. It looks like another London derby is running away from Spurs this weekend. Fulham 2, Spurs 0. They're in real trouble. And Igor Tudor said these players are well better than relegation. I think a lot of people will be asking, are you really sure about that? 2-0 to Fulham. As we enter the final 10 minutes here of the first half at Old Trafford. Man United 0, Crystal Palace 1. Maxence Lacroix's goal the difference. Man United have, as I said, barely laid a glove on the Palace defence all the way throughout this first half. Really struggled to create any clear-cut chances other than the Harry Maguire header from a corner. Not really shown much in open play at all, Man United so far. Cunha. Fernandes down the right-hand side. Back heels it, but again Palace with ample bodies to intercept. Johnson a little bit loose, and ultimately though a foul given away by Diogo Dalot on Daichi Kamada. He's going to get Palace a free kick, and he's going to get Diogo Dalot a yellow card. Yeah, he's just a little late. Just a little bit, but there he is. That's his 5th yellow card of the season for the Portuguese. Fernandes picks up a loose Canvo pass. Finds Mazraoui. Can Man United fight back before the interval? Try and get back into this game. Yoro. Dalot. Wide it goes. Trying to create an angle there is Casemiro, and Mbermo's got the better of it inside here. He's edge of the box, lays it off for Mazraoui. Shot was closed down by Richards. Picked up by Maguire. It was better from Brandon Mbermo. Got Got a little bit of luck with the break of the ball, but worked hard for it. And again, all the way back to United centre-backs here. Euro. He's forced back by Jorgen Strand Larsen's press. Back to Sene Lamens. Euro. Out wide it goes. Casemiro. On wide again, trying to create the angles. Finds Šeško. Now drops for Cunha, who was, well, challenged there by Richards again, intercepting. But Mainu picks it back up. Better from United. Mainu out wide to Fernandes. Whips it towards the area. And the header from Šeško. Well saved by Dean Henderson, who gets two hands to it. But again, working the ball well. Manchester United gets it out wide to Fernandes, who feeds it towards the area. And Benjamin Šeško up for it. Heads it directly towards the Palace goal, but Dean Henderson was alert. But that's better for Manchester United. A lot more threatening. It was a really slow start to the game. They've maybe picked up a little bit. Certainly a lot of the possession. 80% possession in the last 10 minutes. Dalot. Too eager to get forward too quickly there. Plays it back to Euro. Wide to Dalot again. Down the line to Mbeumo. Has to play it back to Lenny Euro once more. Patience is key as well for Manchester United. Kobbie Mainoo finds a nice ball to Casemiro, who looks for the back heel. Well stopped by Richards and cleared away by Munoz, but the momentum has swung though. Palace a little bit penned in their own half, and Manchester United getting more play. That's nice from Jorgen Strand Larsen though. Breakaway on possible, but Munoz, the really poor ball, breaks that attack down. Mainoo. Euro. Cross to Diogo Dalot. Fernandes trying to flip it in behind, but well headed away by Lacroix. Taken in by the two Palace midfielders. Wharton feeds it out wide to Mitchell. Mitchell drifting inside, but running into trouble and not getting the foul, so he's a little caught out there as Mbeumo breaks through. Lays it out wide to Fernandes across, and Richards has to get rid, but that was a little sloppy from Mitchell, leaving his defence a little bit exposed. Manchester United trying to take advantage. Euro. Dalot. Euro to Mainoo. Mainoo working the space in the middle. Plays it across to Mazraoui. Mazraoui back to Maguire. Now Euro pushing deeper and deeper into the Palace half for Manchester United, as Mbeumo is brought down and wins a free kick out of Daichi Kamada. He just catches the right foot of Brandon Mbeumo there as he tried to shield the ball. Yeah, it is a foul. I've got to say, Daichi Kamada can't do many more of those because he's already on a yellow card. He has to be very careful. The referee gets us ready for this Man United free kick into the final 5 minutes of the first half. Casemiro and Fernandes over it. I would suggest and expect it will be Bruno Fernandes to take, unless something really strange happens. It's a good distance out this. Probably 27, 28 yards. Bruno Fernandes, right side of goal. It's Fernandes who will go for goal. Wasn't too far away. Had Dean Henderson fully stretched. Whether he got a touch to it or not, I think he might have. I think it was just going over the top, but Dean Henderson had to make sure. It's just over the crossbar, behind for the corner. Mbeumo to take. 7 United bodies in the box, 2 on the edge. Ball whipped in, Euro was there, but brought down by Fernandes on the edge of the box. Skipped past one, fed in through another, and was brought down as he got rid of the ball. And that's another free kick to Manchester United. Palace looking a little bit sloppy, and it's Daichi Kamada again, but maybe a little soft in my opinion. But as I said, Daichi Kamada's walking a very fine line now. 2 fouls after his yellow card was given. Won't have too many more chances. Bruno Fernandes over this free kick again. Wasn't too far away from the last one. This one much more difficult to try and shoot directly, but wouldn't put it past him. This one far on the left, a little bit closer, but a lot wider. Fernandes works it into the area. Header is on and wide by Casemiro. Great delivery by Fernandes. Great positioning from Casemiro, but the header couldn't get it on target. Just flicks it wide of that right post. Nice idea. All but the finish in that situation. They are pushing Man United before half-time to try and find that leveller. Away it's gone. Palace holding on a little bit to this lead. Maybe just need half-time, Palace, to regroup. Wharton's ball in behind is a little bit awkward, but Sene Lammens was confident. Claimed it well and now has a bit of space for Mizraoui. Fernandes just crosses the halfway line, finds Mbeumo, but forced it to him, which made him take a heavy touch, and ultimately Brandon Mbeumo, trying to win it back, gives away a free kick. The referee took a second to make the decision, which has frustrated the Man United team. And foul it is. Free kick to Crystal Palace. I have to say, fewest touches, Benjamin Šeško, 7, 6 less than any other player, including Luke Shaw, who was substituted off over 20 minutes ago. That's 30 seconds of the first half. We'll see how long will be added on. Henderson goes long, diagonal towards Munoz, headed away by Mizraoui. Cunha skips away from Strand Larsen in cover. And Kamada comes across to knock it out for a Man United throw, which Cunha wants to take quickly, but has to go back a couple of yards before he does so. He's actually just going to hand it off here to Nasser Mizraoui to take the throw. Wouldn't suspect to be too much additional time. An additional 3 minutes. A little bit long. Maybe Shaw's injury, the majority of that, but not many stoppages other than that. Johnson's ball across was threatening. Best Palace move in a while, but Man United scramble it clear and get rid of the danger. Palace trying to push and press, and the foul's going to be given against Palace here. The next 2 minutes will be crucial. If Crystal Palace can take a lead in to the half-time dressing room at Old Trafford, albeit they've been here and done it before. Each of the last 2 seasons they've won here at Old Trafford without conceding, but still, when it happens, it doesn't make it easy. No matter how many times you do it, it's still a difficult place to go, and this season, as I said, it's a really tough place for anybody to come and win. United have made it a much more difficult place for them to be stopped. So far in this first half, Palace have done a pretty resolute job of it. Deep ball across towards Mitchell on the run with Mbeumo. As Mbeumo tries to shield it for the goal kick, and does well. Albeit they've had a little bit of a resurgence before the end of this first half, Man United. They're still a little bit lacking in the last few minutes, and you have to say, albeit 6 shots, 3 on target, but Maguire's 1, Seshku's 1, 2 headers. Other than that, they've, for an open play, not really threatened. And the first shot of the game was a Bruno Fernandes effort. It was their only other shots on target, and that Bruno Fernandes effort was from long range. So 2 headers and a long range shot make up Man United's first half attacking threat. But it was a header at the other end that has Crystal Palace in front from a Brennan Johnson corner. Maxence Lacroix with his deft guided header, dropping in at the back post. Last few seconds of the first half. Here's Kobbie Mainoo. Mbeumo. Back to Mainoo. In his own half and goes backwards to Yoro. And no time to play much more as the half-time whistle goes at Old Trafford. And a half-time deficit for Man United to try and overcome. Crystal Palace through Maxence Lacroix lead at the break at Old Trafford. And a possible third place that could be Man United's if they turn this around is in a little bit of trouble at half-time. At Old Trafford, it's Man United 0, Crystal Palace 1 at the break. Sure, one last kick. This is going to be it. This is the moment. Vicario kicks this. And Liverpool are there. Liverpool are Premier League champions. And there it comes. Crystal Palace, for the very first time in their history, are FA Cup winners. Oh, he's found the net. Oh, what a goal. Kvaratskhelia is through, wants to add a fourth, and does so. Ahmad, oh my goodness me. That is absolutely unbelievable. Rice again. Oh! You thought he couldn't beat the first one. He's gone and bettered it. Another whip ball in. The header is in by Virgil van Dijk. Incredible. Welcome back to Premier League Live. Half time at Old Trafford. It's Man United 0, Crystal Palace 1. At the break, Axon's Glasgow. The difference between the two sides. Half time elsewhere though. Brighton 2-1 up against Nottingham Forest, and Fulham 2-0 against Spurs there at Craven Cottage. So a lot of exciting drama already in the 2 o'clockers today. We'll recap all of those in a moment, but let's bring you back to the weekend's action so far. Wolves were 2-0 winners against Aston Villa on Friday night. The two Gomez players getting the goals. João Gomez with the first and Rodrigo Gomez with the second, getting only Wolves' second win of the season. Aston Villa again failing to really make sure they can keep third place. It's under risk today, but at the moment United failing to take advantage. Yesterday lunchtime we watched Bournemouth and Sunderland play out a 1-1 draw at the Vitality Stadium. Sunderland took the lead early in that one. Eliza Mayenda with the opener for Evan Nielsen headed in the equaliser for the Cherries. It finished 1-1 there. And that was to be what was a precursor to a pretty dramatic 3 o'clock slot. 7 goals at Turf Moor. Could have been 8, could have even been 9, as Burnley had 2 goals disallowed. This is going to be a real tricky one to get through, but comfortable. The first 3 goals all went for Brentford. They were 3-0 up in the game. Mikkel Damsgaard, Igor Thiago and Kevin Schade giving them a 3-0 lead by the 34th minute. Albeit Coyote got in the scoring, but at the wrong side. He put it into the back of his own net to get Burnley back in the game. And followed up by Jadon Anthony and Zian Fleming early in the second half, made it 3-3 for Burnley. They thought they took the lead themselves for the first time of the day when Zian Fleming put it into the back of the net in the 81st minute. That was disallowed by VAR. And then Mikkel Damsgaard for Brentford did put it into the back of the net in the 93rd minute to give Brentford the lead once again, before Ashley Barnes in the 101st minute thought that he had given Burnley another equalising goal, but to be disallowed after a 6-minute delay to the game. It was disallowed and it finished Burnley 3, Brentford 4. The drama didn't end there though. 19 goals to get through from the 3 o'clock games. And let's go to Anfield next, where there was 7 goals again. 3 coming for one side right from the off. Liverpool were 3-0 up inside 43 minutes. Hugo Ekitike, Virgil van Dijk and Alexis McAllister all on the score sheet to give the home side a 3-0 lead at half-time. Thomas Souček though gave West Ham a bit of a lifeline early in the second, before Cody Gakpo dashed their hopes of a comeback to make it 4-1 to Liverpool, before Tati Castellanos got them back to 4-2 for West Ham just moments later, before it was ultimately finalised when Axel Disasi put into his own net to make it Liverpool 5, West Ham United 2. A big win for Liverpool, and a needed one in their chase for Champions League football, but another big heavy defeat for West Ham and Nuno Espirito Santo in their fight against relegation. To St James's Park, and a big win for Everton on the road. 5-goal game this one at St James's Park, and 3 goals in the first half, but this time a ding-dong battle, shall we say. Branthwaite gave Everton the lead. Jacob Ramsey then levelled for Newcastle, before 2 minutes later Beto then retook the lead for Everton, a 2-1 half-time lead for the visitors. Jacob Murphy then equalised again for Newcastle in the 82nd minute, but less than 2 minutes later, it was Everton were back in front again. Tierno Barry with the 3rd goal for Everton, and overall, after the first goal, Newcastle were then level for just a total of less than 3 minutes across the rest of the game. Both of their equalisers quickly followed up by an Everton goal to retake the lead. It finished Newcastle 2, Everton 3 at St James's Park. And just the 1 goal yesterday evening at Elland Road between Leeds and Man City. That came right at the death of the first half, when Antoine Semenyo converted to make it 1-0 to Manchester City, and that is a big win, was a big win for Manchester City to close the gap to Arsenal back to 2 points. Now, we'll explain this a little later in the Arsenal-Chelsea game, but a little bit confusing. Arsenal have already played an extra game, so after Man City's result last night, they were level on games, 28 games each, with City 2 points behind. Arsenal will play this evening, their 29th game of the season. They would be a game ahead. City could be 5 points behind if they win Arsenal, but they would have a game in hand and would still have to play Arsenal. So albeit it might look like a 5 point gap, but it very easily could still possibly be a Man City lead in the after all is said and done. So it is still quite a tight title race, no matter what. And if they don't win tonight, Arsenal, that is a big worry for them. But we'll talk about that a little later on. But City, a big 3 points for them away at Elland Road, and they're third in succession. But today's action, half-time in those 3 games kicked off at 2 o'clock. They'll be getting back underway in a few minutes. But to quickly recap the first half, Brighton 2, Forest 1. Brighton took the lead after 6 minutes. Diego Gomez with the goal. Levelled 7 minutes later when Morgan Gibbs-White obviously levelled, made it 1-1 for Forest. Before, 2 minutes after that, Danny Welbeck then retook the lead for Brighton. It is Brighton 2, Nottingham Forest 1. All 3 goals coming in the first 15 minutes of that game there at the Amex, and a big scoreline it is for Brighton, and a worrying one again for Nottingham Forest, who are edging towards their 15th defeat of the season and would still sit just 2 points above the relegation zone as it stands. Speaking of relegation threatened, Spurs 2-0 down against Fulham at half-time. Harry Wilson and Alex Iwobi with the 2 goals for Fulham. Has Fulham well up into the top half now, up to 8th with a win, and possibly chasing those ahead of them, never mind those below them for Fulham. And a Spurs side here, 16th, edging for their 13th defeat of the season, and would sit just 4 points above the relegation zone as it stands. And of course, we've already talked about it. Man United 0, Crystal Palace 1. And that goal coming from Maxence Lacroix after just 4 minutes to give Crystal Palace the lead. A win, as I said, which would take Palace to 11th. A defeat for Man United would see them stay above Liverpool as it stands, but only by goals scored and by 1 goal scored. So it is as tight as could be there for Man United. And they would be level on points with Liverpool. And with Chelsea, if Chelsea were to win later and United were to lose, then Chelsea would jump up to 4th, United down to 5th and Liverpool down to 6th. But that is if Chelsea win. Other than that, it would be United to stay 4th unless they were to lose by more than 1 goal. And lots of different permutations that could happen. And if Man United turn it around, they could finish the day 3rd. So a lot can still happen between now and the final whistle. But it is 0-1 at the break. Right, big second half to come at Old Trafford, but a reminder for you, the huge game that rounds off the weekend here in the Premier League is a London derby at the Emirates. Arsenal taking on Chelsea, 4:30 kickoff. But before that, we'll be back for the second half at Old Trafford next. Welcome back to Premier League Live, half-time at Old Trafford. It's Man United 0, Crystal Palace 1. The second half getting underway in just a moment. But a reminder for you, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on post notifications if you haven't done so already. That would be greatly appreciated. And big second halves to come across all 3 games at 2 o'clock, as I said, before we head to North London for Arsenal against Chelsea a little later on. And the players arriving at the Emirates already for that game that kicks off in less than an hour and a half. And team news will get in about 12 minutes time from that one at the Emirates. But as I said, a big second half to come here at Old Trafford. Man United looking to go 3rd in the table, but need to find a way to turn this one around against Crystal Palace, who will be jumping up to 11th with victory here this afternoon. Will there be any movement from the United bench? There doesn't look like there has been at half-time, so as you were, as we get back underway. at Old Trafford. Palace will be looking to start the second half the way they started the first. It was a pretty quick start from the visitors. But one thing that will worry them is that they've dropped 16 points from winning positions this season, Crystal Palace. So they're not the most confident side when having a lead. They don't often hold on to it too confidently. They did last week though, when beating Wolves by a goal to nil at Sellers Park. In terms of Man United, they picked up 12 points from losing positions this season, although themselves give away quite a few points as well when leading. 14 points dropped from a winning position, so very unpredictable, you've got to say, Man United. Based on their season averages, the United certainly more likely to get a goal than Palace. Palace have 30 goals. That first half goal was their 30th goal of the season, so they're averaging just over 1 goal per game. Man United 48 goals coming into this game, which is much more likely, seeing if you average it out, that they will get a leveller. But so far they need to improve their attack and play, which has been pretty half-hearted so far this afternoon. Will Michael Carrick have figured it out? Here's Brian Mbeumo. Couldn't get through. Drops for Benjamin Šeško, whose shot was deflected behind for the corner. I was about to say, will Michael Carrick have it figured out for this second half? Well, bit of head tennis, and as it drops, Brian Mbeumo bricks in behind. He is stopped, and then breaking onto the loose ball was Benjamin Šeško, who forced a corner. Ultimately, his shot blocked by Caoimhan. Celebrated that block. I think he'd scored there, JD Caoimhan. Mbeumo will take this Man United corner. The first corner of the second half, and the first real chance for United in this second half. Left-footed delivery by Mbeumo, back post, and looped up by Casemiro, cleared away at the front post from the corner. Fed back to Mbeumo. Drops to Dalot, who will whip it deep. And the header is off target by Casemiro. Another Casemiro header. Another one that goes wide. Another good delivery by Dalot. Another good position from Casemiro, but the header, the accuracy's just not there. Difficult header to take though, but headed it wide. Might have hurt himself as well in that moment there, Casemiro, when he headed that ball. Dean Henderson and Palace taking their time at getting the game restarted. The crowd not too happy, and Chris Kavanagh swift to pull out the yellow card for the Palace goalkeeper. It's his third yellow card of the season, and a pretty needless one so early in the second half. I mean, who time wastes 3 minutes into the second half? It's a bit silly, that. And Dean Henderson in the book. Maguire stepping up. Casemiro flicked forward towards Fernandes, brought down by Mbeumo and fed wide to Dalot. Dalot back inside to Mbeumo, and now Caoimhan will lift it towards the area. And a looping header by Benjamin Šeško, watched all the way by Dean Henderson. There was under no concern there. We'll go long. Henderson again, not looking to play out. In the second ball again, Palace. Wharton takes it down. Right to Munoz. Richards. Back inside to Daichi Kamara. Blindly passes, but finds Strand Larsen. Nice Sarr comes across, plays it towards Mitchell. He's got acres of space on his left side. Mitchell fires it across. Strand Larson struck it well wide. Good play by Palace, but difficult one for Strand Larson from that range. Dalot. Casemiro fires forward, looking for the runner in Mbermo. Canvo got to it first, but Sheshko brings it down. Now Cunha. Stopped by Munoz for, at least for the moment, but Cunha back on the ball. He's got Munoz to face again. Sarr coming in cover. Here's Mazraoui to help out. Cunha reverses it to Mazraoui. Whips it across, but narrowly across and headed behind to the back post by Mitchell for another Man United corner. Showing more cohesion in the final third. Man United getting their fullbacks involved a little more. Corner incoming. And Mbermo, left-footed delivery. Whipped to the back post, punched away by Henderson. Cleared away in the middle by Mitchell. Mazraoui. Fernandez with a straight ball through as Cunha felt he was dragged. And the referee says penalty. Points to the spot. Cunha was brought down. And Crystal Palace argue against it, but the referee took his time to think whether it was inside or outside the box. After a few seconds, says it was inside and points to the penalty spot. Well, this will be a big call. Tony Harrington, the VAR, will surely have a look to make sure that the referee's got it correct, of course, but the referee explaining his decision to Maxence Lacroix and Bruno Fernandes, as well as Dean Henderson, who's there. And now will VAR have a say? So the referee pointed to the spot after a few seconds of thinking, but we'll have to see a replay. Beautiful ball by Fernandes. And then Lacroix. He does kind of pull Cunha back, but we see it here. I mean, it's one of those where he does have a hold of him, but he's not really dragging him. He's just kind of holding on to his shoulder. It's not much of a drag back. Cunha does fall a little bit easily, but I mean, if you give the referee a question to make, I mean, you've got to be ready to pay the price for it, really. And I don't think there's enough in that to overturn it, in my opinion. So I think it will stand here. Looks like it will be. And they still haven't fully confirmed it. The referee still waiting. And they're now actually asking whether it should be a denial of a goal scoring opportunity. Because was Cunha straight through on goal? And I think he might just be there. So we believe the penalty will stand, but what further action will come? Well, the penalty's been given, but the referee's going to have another look to see whether it's denial of a goal scoring opportunity on top of the penalty. So that's what Chris Cavan has been called to the screen for. Or we'll see. I mean, the graphic still says checking penalty, but I believe VAR believe it's a penalty, and they're not going to overturn that, but they're asking whether the referee is it denial of a goal scoring opportunity? I mean, let's see. The referee's had a look. The decision will come. I'm sure he'll have a booming voice over the tannoy. After review, Crystal Palace number 5 makes a clear hold on offence. Penalty and a red card. And that is a complete collapse from Crystal Palace. Maxence Lacroix, who was the hero for Palace in the first half, has now just turned himself into a villain. A penalty and a red card. A double blow for Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. Maxence Lacroix is off and trundling down the sidelines into the tunnel. And now we turn to Bruno Fernandes. Has the ball under his arm, waits for his chance. His last 5 penalties, scored 4, missed 1. And he scored a leveller for Man United early in the second half here. Bruno Fernandes against Dean Henderson, one of the best penalty stoppers in the league. Fernandes finds the net, tucks it home, and Manchester United are level. And that's got this crowd going. They needed something. Well, they have certainly got something. A leveller, and they've got a man advantage. Crystal Palace needed to hold their nerve. Well, they've done far from that. And Maxence Lacroix, who gave Crystal Palace the lead early in the first half, has seen it all come crumbling down early in the second. Gives away the penalty to concede the leveller and gets himself sent off in the process to make the job even more difficult for his team. Crystal Palace are now in a really tough spot. United 1, Palace 1, Palace down to 10. And changes incoming here for Crystal Palace, so change of approach clearly. Looks like Jørgen Strand Larsen and Brennan Johnson were both taken off there for Palace. We'll see what the substitutes are. I haven't got confirmation of those just yet, but you got to say, whoever they are going to have to work extremely hard to get anything out of this game now for Crystal Palace. And with well over 30 minutes and more to go, it's going to get more difficult. Evan Gersund has come on for Brendan Johnson, and Chadi Riyad has come on to replace Jørgen Strand Larsen. Riyad, of course, dropping into the defence, and Evan Gersund going further forward. I feel that the momentum has more than definitely swung in Man United's favour. As I said, a double blow for Crystal Palace, conceding a leveller and seeing one of their leading players sent off. Fernandes. Casemiro. Squared it across to Mazraoui. Down the left-hand side it comes to Cunha. Mazraoui. Mainu. Maguire. Now Manchester United have the expectation of going on to win this night. Cunha beats past Munoz, works it into the box. Šeško, though, the poor first touch, sees it go behind for a goal kicked, but that won't be one of their only chance of the game. They'll have many more chances, United, between now and the final whistle, to try and turn this on its head completely. Dean Henderson will take this goal kick. Moves it long. As we hit the hour mark inside Old Trafford, we look around the ground. Still the same scorelines in the other two games. Brighton leading Forest by 2-1, and Fulham 2-0 up against Spurs at Craven Cottage. Those are the latest scores from those other two games. All the action of the second half's come here at Old Trafford. Well, that Man United leveller for the penalty, and a red card as well for Maxence Lacroix. Canvo gets red. Casemiro. Mainu. Casemiro back to Maguire. You expect Man United to dominate possession. Had over 64% of it in the first 15-16 minutes of the second half, but expect that to continue at least. And here come Palace with a rare foray forward for them. Daichi Kamada trying to reverse it through, but Man United comfortable with Lenny Yoro and Maguire back there. They get on the move again. Lamans lays it off to Mazraoui, who finds Mainu. Now Casemiro. Fernandes. Mainu just about scraping it towards Cunha. Lots of bodies in Palace colours there to clear it away. They've given it right back to Man United. A poor ball across. Dallo. Fernandes trying to feed it in. Canvo got his leg to it, and Munoz can clear it long. Trying to find Evan Gersund, who I thought run into Harry Maguire there, but the referee saw a foul, and a free kick to Crystal Palace will come. I think they're a little bit soft to me. Well, to be fair, Harry Maguire does kind of back up in onto him, but yeah, maybe a little bit cynical there from Harry Maguire. But Evan Gersund winning the free kick for Crystal Palace. You've got to say it was 10 men that Palace faced last week in their 1-0 win over Wolves. Evan Gersund scored the winning goal in the 90th minute after coming on in the 72nd to try and change the game for Palace and get them that winner. Winner he did. But the tables have turned with 27 minutes to go at Old Trafford. They're the team with one less player, and Man United are the team trying to find a winner. Here's Richards, who steps up, finds it to Sarr in a pocket of space, and they're breaking away here. Palace. Sarr right down the throat of Sene Lamans. Would have been difficult from that range to beat the Man United goalkeeper. Casemiro, beautiful switch ball to Fernandes down the left hand side. Steps in field. Fernandes going to go himself, and it took a bobble on the way through, but it was clearly wide. Fernandes, he thought it came off Chris Richards' head, but just skimmed past the Americans. Head there. Goal kick it is. Dean Henderson with a long kick. Evan Gersund getting up and winning the ball ultimately. Daichi Kamada taking the second ball down the left hand side here, but Dallo with a recovery. Feeds it back to his goalkeeper. Unleashes it from Mazraoui, who just beats his man to the ball. Finds Casemiro. Challenged, but strongly stays onto the ball, the veteran midfielder. Right, lays it off to Fernandes. Fernandes feeds it in behind. Casemiro trying to flick it across, but Canvo with the clearance. Fernandes picks it up. No way out for Palace. Fernandes, and the header is fired home by Benjamin Šeško. And Man United have turned it around. Great ball by Fernandes. Great header by Šeško. United 2, Palace 1. It didn't take them long to turn it around completely. And in minute 65, Manchester United lead for the first time in this game. And once again, as so often here at Old Trafford, and for Man United as a whole, Bruno Fernandes involved in both goals. Scored the first, set up the second. United 2, Palace 1. But the delivery is sensational. And Benjamin Šeško, all he has to do is direct it towards goal. The pace was on it, the power was on it. All he had to do was redirect it. And redirect it he did into the bottom right corner. And United lead by 2-1. Benjamin Šeško. That's now his 4th goal in his last 5 appearances for Manchester United. Home and away. Scored the winner against Everton, the leveller against West Ham, and in the 3-2 win, the winner against Fulham. Scores big goals, and that's his 4th big goal in a row. It turns this game on its head from the first half and into the favour of Man United, and they're moving again. Šeško, Fernandes, out wide to Cunha. They want more. Cunha! Right at Dean Henderson. You feel like this is going to be an incredibly difficult last 23 minutes for Crystal Palace, and Will Hughes is going to be coming on very shortly. But not only are Man United taking the 3 points, it's the 3 points that would take them up to 3rd in the Premier League table, ahead of Aston Villa on goal difference, and well away of the clutching hands of Liverpool and Chelsea, who are closing in behind, but taking advantage of Villa's defeat on Friday night and capitalising on Sunday afternoon for Man United. And might want to kind of stroke the ego of their goal difference as well, as Will Hughes replaces Adam Wharton in the Palace midfield. We have another goal to tell you about at Craven Cottage. Could there be a comeback on for Spurs? They've got one back against Fulham. Richarlison with a goal in 66th minute, and it is Fulham 2, Tottenham Hotspur 1. So all 3 home teams at 2 o'clock lead by 2-1 as we enter the final 20 minutes or so. Hughes to take this Palace free kick. First action of the game for him. Headed away by Maguire. Not fully out of danger though, as Man United are going to win the free kick. Cunha was just held there by Convo. And the free kick taken quickly by United. No waiting around. Casemiro couldn't find it in behind. Picked up though by Kobbie Mainoo from the clearance. Albeit historically, as you would expect, Man United to have the major advantage in these meetings. 56 previous meetings in all competitions. Man United have won 33. Palace have won 12 and 11 draws. Well, this is a stat and a half for United, as I told you about their much better return at home this season. They've picked up 27 points in the last 12 home Premier League games. Won 8, drawn 3 and lost 1. That's 16 more points than they'd managed in their previous 13 games at Old Trafford, where they'd picked up 11. Won 3, drawn 2 and lost 8. So an incredible turnaround in home form for United. We've seen them rocket themselves up the table this season. Finished 15th last season on 42 points. They're already well ahead of that. They're already 9 points ahead of that as it stands, with still 10 games to go. So a much more impressive season. Mainoo, who'd lost the ball initially there, but won it back well. applauded by the crowd, but Man United a little bit sloppy here. As foul on camera by Mainu. Going to get Palace a free kick. 20 to go at Old Trafford. It's United who lead by 2-1 against 10-man Crystal Palace. Max Onstoqua, who gave Palace the lead, was then the one that unravelled it all for Palace. Gave away the penalty, which saw the Man United leveller, and got himself a red card in the process. It was a double blow, and then was soon followed by a Benjamin Šeško header that turned the game on its head completely. And it will be Man United's, if they win this game, only their third win at home against Palace in their last 7 home league games against them. As I said, they'd lost 4 of their last 6. The other 2 were United wins, 1-0 and 2-1. Actually, in that 2-1 home win, they were down to 10 themselves, United. Casemiro got himself sent off. In the 1-0 win, Fred was the only scorer in that game. No longer at the club, of course. But with less than 20 to go, it's everywhere, in every part of what Man United wanted to be. Big 3 points that would take them to 3rd, above Aston Villa, and in the driving seat when it comes to the remaining Champions League places for English teams. City and Arsenal surely have that well under control, but those below them still have all the work to do. United, Villa, Liverpool, Chelsea, and possibly Brentford, who are not too far behind them either. Cunha bursting away from Munoz, breaks into the box, goes down again, wanting another penalty, not going to get it this time. Mainu keeps it alive. Casemiro finds Dallo, who will whip it to the back post. Cunha heads it across, cleared away by Richards. And it's relentless from United. Palace trying to hang on. Mazraoui out wide, it goes to Fernandes. Reverses it round the corner to Mainu. Mainu across. Mitchell chesting it behind for another Man United corner. Didn't know what was behind him and panicked a little bit there, Tyreek Mitchell. Corner it will be. Another penalty there, Cunha, but he just kind of lost his balance. Not a penalty. Munoz does very well. Definitely not a penalty. Corner for United. Brandon Bournemouth to take, right hand side. Left-footed delivery, it's deep. Cunha was there to get the first contact, but it's cleared away and fed back in, but switched out beautifully to Brandon Bournemouth. Took the corner the first time, he's whipped it in again, back post! Good save by Dean Henderson. I think that was Casemiro that caught that cleanly on the volley. Fed into the box again, and Dean Henderson was there to gather. Yes, again, great ball to the back post, and it is Casemiro who sweeps it with the right foot on the volley. Good save by Henderson, but great strike by Casemiro. Completely unmarked at the back post as well, by the way, but let's get a little bit lucky. Good save by their goalkeepers. Had a lot of work to do in the last 5-10 minutes. So Man United going to make another change. Going to see the introduction of Ahmad. And Benjamin Šeško, whose goal at the moment is getting Man United all 3 points. As I said, on a good hot streak at the moment. United forward, 4 goals and 5 for him. And as I said, all 4 of them have been pretty crucial in close games. That's what the best players do. Come up with the big goals in the big moments. And Ahmad on to replace him. With 15 to go. A reminder for you, as we mentioned a little earlier, Arsenal against Chelsea, a 4:30 kickoff. from the Emirates. Palace get a free kick there. So the team news, it reads like this: David Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Nkapie in defence for Arsenal, Zubamendi, Rice and Eze, with a front three of Saka, Trossard and Gyökeres. For Chelsea, Robert Sanchez in goal, Reece James, Sarr, Chalobah and Hato in defence, Santos, Caicedo and Fernandes in midfield, with Palmer, Neto and João Pedro leading the line for Chelsea. Interesting introductions, Garnacho and Delap amongst those on the bench for Chelsea. For Arsenal, Kai Havertz, Jesus, Martinelli, Madueke, lots of options off the bench for Mikel Arteta. That game between Arsenal, who lead the way, and Chelsea, who have a bit of catching up to do to those above them, are a 4:30 kickoff from the Emirates. Little narrow from Daichi Kamada. Tried to find it to Munoz, but played it a little too far infield. Picked up though by Canvo. Hughes. Bit of room here for Daichi Kamada. Feeds a pass down the left. Mitchell's going to the cutback. Hughes trying to guide it. Cleared away. Picked up again though by Riyad. Richards. Maybe Palace can have a little go here. Got nothing to lose. Riyad out wide to Mitchell, back inside to Riyad again. Most possession we've seen of Palace since the red card. That's a nice ball. Played into Ismaila Sarr in the pocket. Couldn't feed the ball through and gives it away cheaply. Again, United a little bit impatient. Fernandes gives it away cheaply to Richards. And Riyad picks it up, gives it back to his goalkeeper. Hughes breaking through unchallenged here. Ahmad does well to cut out the pass that he was attempting to find. Hughes there to Tyreek Mitchell. And Ahmad retrieves well for Manchester United. Quick update from around the grounds into the final quarter of an hour, and all three games that kicked off at 2 o'clock, and all still quite narrow. Brighton 2-1 against Forest. Fulham the same scoreline at home to Spurs, and United 2-1 up here against Crystal Palace. So all still in the balance, albeit I would say Man United's lead is probably a little bit more secured, but still only one goal in it for all three teams that are leading in their respective home games this afternoon. Thank you very much, Andy, for getting involved. Great to have you with us this afternoon for this one. Everybody joining us for what has turned out, certainly in the second half, to be a pretty different game than the first. First half that Palace really had the better of and were definitely the better team. And you know, to come out in the second half and maybe get that slice of luck they need, but again, it's the penalty and the red card that has turned this game on its head. But I've got to say, United were a little sharper in the second half after coming out and from the interval. Certainly that all changed for Crystal Palace when they went down to 10 and conceded that penalty. What I said about it, they had to hold their nerve. I said earlier on, no matter how many times you go to Old Trafford and how many times you win most recently, your next visit will always be incredibly tricky. No matter how poor Man United can be or how good they are, it doesn't really matter. It's not an easy place to win Old Trafford. And Palace didn't hold their nerve to start the second half, and actually, as I said, did the opposite to that. But Man United were surely going to come alive at some point. They were really poor in the first half, United, and upped it in the second. And with just short of 10 minutes, just over 10 minutes to go, shall I say. They lead by 2-1. And currently heading third in the Premier League table. And considering quite a few weeks ago before this really good unbeaten run, they were a team that were struggling to get a hold of 5th place, never mind 3rd place. faltering opportunities to take that third spot, or that fifth spot, shall I say, all the way back then. And if you remember that home game against West Ham, where they just failed to take advantage, and then they continued to fail to take advantage until the most recent run, as I said, that 10-game unbeaten run. Started with a 1-0 winner against Newcastle on Boxing Day, and has continued all the way through. And could it end next week? They head to Newcastle next weekend. Could it be a full circle moment? Fernandez couldn't quite find anybody in the middle there. A little low with his cross. Is cleared away by Hughes, but given straight back to United. Casemiro, Fernandez trying to find Casemiro, who'd run the way through. Couldn't get on the end of it, and Henderson gathers for Palace. As I said, the fixtures don't get easier for Man United. Away to Newcastle, and then at home to Aston Villa in a few weeks' time on Mother's Day, the 15th of March. That'll be a huge game when it comes to the race for Champions League for both teams. For Crystal Palace, their focus will be on a London derby away at Spurs in midweek. They head to Spurs on Thursday night before they have next weekend off. Of course, it's FA Cup weekend, so both teams have next weekend off. Cunha from range, straight down the throat, before they head to the host AEK Larnaca in the Conference League on the 12th of March, which is not this Thursday coming, but the next Thursday. And of course, after this weekend, as I said, FA Cup weekend next weekend. Lots of action all the way from Friday night to Monday night. And LFS right the way throughout the weekends. We start at Molineux on Friday night, Wolves against Liverpool, which is also Tuesday night's feature game in the Premier League. So those two facing each other twice in as many days almost. Hughes reverses it nicely to find Ismail Assar. Now Evan Gerson. Gerson delivers it wide. Munoz cuts it back. Daichi Kamada with a poor touch. Lets him down and allows Mazraoui to clear. But if they can put a few passes together, Palace, time them right, they could have a go here. It's not completely gone out of them. Man United are not dominating this to a finish. Certainly they don't want to hobble over the line, but Man United need to just keep pushing Palace back and giving them a little bit of encouragement here. As Evan Gerson wins a free kick out of Casemiro. Man United going to use that quality off the bench. Joshua Zirkzee is going to be coming on very shortly, alongside Aidan Heaven. Palace taking their time with this free kick into the last 6.5 minutes of 90 here at Old Trafford. Of course, I'm sure we'll have quite a few minutes of additional time with that long VAR check for the Man United penalty and then the red card. So, gone short for the free kick, but the opportunity from range here for Mitchell, who struck it over the crossbar. Palace are also going to go to their bench too in a moment. Actually going to go to their bench first before United here. It's going to see the replacement of Daichi Kamada for Yeremy Pino. So Pino for Kamada for Palace. And we're going to see the double substitution for United here. So Aidan Heaven's going to come on to replace Harry Maguire. Maguire applauded off the field by the home crowd. And also going to see the replacement of Brian Mbeumo. And he's going to be replaced by Joshua Zirkzee. So Zirkzee and Heaven on, replacing Maguire and and Burmo. 5 minutes to go then. Palace have had 4 shots in the second half, only 1 on target. Haven't had a shot on target in over 21 minutes, Crystal Palace. Ismail Assar's effort from range that was easily saved by Sene Lamans as their only shot on target of the second half. Oh, a slip there from Dallo. Allows Jeremy Pino a little bit of space, and with the fresh legs he bursts away. Gerson. Mitchell has to play it backwards though to Riyadh, but Palace having a bit of the possession, and who knows, could maybe push for a late leveller here, which would be against the run of play and a little bit unorthodox for the context of the game. Still 2-1 elsewhere as well in those other 2 games between Brighton and Forest and Fulham and Spurs. There's a bit of Palace confusion there. Riyadh and Pino couldn't link up. And Euro gives it back to Sene Lamans. Undercooking it. Richards wins the first header, taken in by Jeremy Pino. Shields it away from the press of Ahmad. Now Mitchell gives it back to Riyadh. Richards. Riyadh again. Pino. Back it goes to Richards. Now Convo. Leads it inside to Hughes, but who couldn't get onto it. Nicely stopped by Fernandez with the interception. Ahmad been wrestling with Mitchell. Casemiro comes away with it. Richards steps in. Finds Pino, who tries to unleash Evan Gerson, but overhit it there, Jeremy Pino. And behind for a goal kick it will go. Well, Palace, for the majority of the game, certainly in the first half, and up until the early part of the second half when they conceded, we're heading towards 11th place, but with this defeat they would stay 14th, and they would stay at the bottom of the pile of those mid-table teams, with a 4-point gap between them and Leeds, and quite a distance between them and the relegation-threatened sides. But as I said, albeit only 8 points off Brentford in 7th, but in that cluster of teams, they're the team that are right at the bottom of that very congested mid-table. Our Palace, at the moment, paying a little bit of a price, with Fulham and Brighton both picking up wins as it stands. They'll be losing a little bit of ground on those above them. Cunha does well, pokes it through. Fernandez on the breakaway. Finds Xerxes on the left, tracked by Richards. Back to Mainu. Now Fernandez. Get a third and that would settle the crowd and confirm the result. Here's Ahmad. Dallo. A little bit loose. Hughes. Challenged by Casemiro, but picked up by Pino. That's a nice ball by Mitchell. Finds Evan Gerson. Sorry, Ismail Assar, apologies actually. Picks it up in the pocket and he's dragged by Aidan Heaven. That's going to be a yellow card and a free kick to Crystal Palace. Aidan Heaven not long on the field and in the referee's book. Not a red card, it was definitely a yellow. Definitely a yellow. Second of the season for Aidan Heaven. A yellow card. Last minute of the 90. Palace with a free kick here. Inside the United half, but a long range, long distance out. Jeremy Pino is over it. Are they going to go into the box this time? They went short the last time. Didn't quite work out. Want to switch it to the left side of the box, and Dallo and Casemiro had it all covered. Goal kick it will be. Yeah, try to be too cute there, Palace. We'll see how long the officials will add on here at the end of the 90 minutes. Will be enough time for Palace to try and scrape a late equaliser if he could. Oliver Glasner making sure the fourth official knows. They're currently time wasting 8 minutes of added time. Doesn't look like Oliver Glasner's too disappointed with the call of 8 minutes. It's a lot of time, and a lot can happen in those 8 minutes. As the Premier League already this season has shown us. We have to say, it's been a very good weekend of Premier League football so far. Only 2 teams so far out of the 18 that have played this weekend haven't scored. 16 out of 18 teams have scored this weekend. Only Leeds and Aston Villa failed to score in their games. Every other team has scored at least a goal. Now, I know that's a bit of a low bar, but it's been a weekend full of goals. Exactly the way we like it. Mainu. Casemiro couldn't squeeze it through, a little bit forceful. That's what Man United have been in possession a little bit. In the last 10-15 minutes, they're just trying to force passes that just aren't on. Instead of just trying to manage the game, keep a hold of the ball, pass it around in kind of non-dangerous situations and just play the easy ball. Always trying to go for the hero pass and the kind of the headline maker. It's just play some short, sharp passes. Just keep the ball for a good few minutes. That will discourage Crystal Palace completely, but they keep giving it away in cheap situations and allowing Crystal Palace to try and fight back. Certainly not a masterclass in game management for Man United though, but we have a free kick here. Dalot. Euro. Heaven. To Casemiro. Mazraoui. Give it away cheaply. Evan Gerson was just beaten to it by Aidan Heaven, but again a little bit of a glimmer of something there for Palace. It was well caught out by the young centre-back. Euro. Finds lots of space for Kobbie Mainoo. He's got the whole of the middle of the field here. Plays it to Ahmad. Brings it back to Mainoo now. Back to Ahmad. Ahmad trying to work an angle for a shot. And it's a good save out of Henderson to deny him a goal. Great save by Henderson. Great perseverance by Ahmad. And the shot was a quality one. That Dean Henderson had to go full stretch to try and keep it out. Will be a corner. Really well taken by Ahmad. I think he knows that obviously a third goal will put this game to bed, and that's maybe the bit of ease that Man United need at this stage. Third goal that just wraps it all up. Corner, left hand side. Fernandes to take. Right footed delivery. Oh, and onto the roof of the net it goes. Over the top. Goal kick. Still a good 4.5 minutes to go. I have to say, there has been a turnaround for Michael Carrick since he became the interim boss. Hasn't lost yet as the interim for Manchester United in any spell actually. He was interim boss between 21-20, the latter stage of the 21-22 season. 1-2 and drawn 1. There was 3 games in charge that time. Here's a chance for Zirkzee. Well shot, well charged down by Richards again. And he is still unbeaten in this spell as Man United boss. This is his 7th game in charge. They've won 5 and drawn 1 of their last 6 games. Only drawing away at West Ham, the only speck on that run. It'll be 6 out of 7. They will have won under Michael Carrick, which is quite a contrast. That's a ball through for Mainoo. Ahmad, last man, Richards brings him down. I think it might be a flag up against Ahmad, though offside it is. I think Richards is a bit relieved that he doesn't end up seeing the same fate of his other centre-back partner. Yeah, but he was offside there, Ahmad, when the ball was played. Definitely a Palace free kick for offside. All the games into additional time. 6 added minutes at the Amex. They played 4.5. Fulham and Spurs, there's also 6 added minutes, which they played just short of 5. And there's 8 here, which we've played 5.5. So all these games coming to an end, and at the moment it will be 3 2-1 home wins from the 2 o'clock kickoffs. That's a lot of numbers in quick succession, but it will be Brighton, Fulham and United all edging out their games by 2-1 as it stands, unless there's late drama. Here's Mitchell. And Palace have one last push for a leveller. Mitchell's ball was an attempt, but didn't find anybody in Palace colours. Casemiro links up with Fernandez nicely. Gets United out of a bit of trouble, and Xerxes with a lovely little bit of skill breaks past Richards. He's it back across to Matej Cunha. He's got Ahmad along with him. Fernandez coming onto the scene late. Fernandez, Ahmad cuts it across. Xerxes blocked. Xerxes picked it up again. Now Mainu told to shoot. Does shoot. Drags it wide of the left post. Goal kick. Minute and a half to go. I have to say though, Bruno Fernandes once again living up to his captain status for Man United. A goal and an assist to turn this game on its head. Penalties scored, coolly taken, and the delivery for that Šeško goal is absolutely gorgeous. Pino might not be over yet. Oh, Pino a little overhit towards Evan Gerson. Pino thought Gerson could get on the end of it. Gerson didn't think so. And that's gone through to Lamans, and maybe that's the last attempt for Palace to have any sort of chance at a leveller. All over at the Amex. Brighton have won 2-1 against Forest. So more troubles for Nottingham Forest on the road, and more problems in terms of them trying to stay in the Premier League come this time by the end of the season. As it stands though, Benjamin Šeško on for another winning goal. As I said, 4 goals he scored in his last 5 games, and each one of them have changed the outcome of the result. I mean, that seems a bit obvious, but you know what I mean. Scored the winner against Everton, scored the leveller against West Ham, scored the winner against Fulham as well. And seemingly scored the winner here today. Well, here's one last chance for Crystal Palace, possibly. Have a lot of work to do from this position for Ismail Assar, surrounded by red shirts. Challenged, but Mitchell kept it alive. They think it's over. Here's Pino. Gerson trying to direct it, but Mainu hoofs it up the field, and the final whistle goes. It might not have been vintage Man United, but it's a Man United win that keeps their unbeaten run going. It's now 11 games unbeaten, and you have to say they are on a charging run to make sure they are in the driving seat of the teams chasing Champions League football. They jump up to 3rd ahead of Aston Villa, capitalising upon Villa's defeat at Molineux on Friday night. And with the chasing pack and Liverpool picking up points as well, but Man United get the 3, and they take a 3-point lead on Liverpool, a 6-point lead on Chelsea, who play Arsenal away next. And it is going to be a twist in the tail right the way between now and the end of the season. 10 games to go for each of these teams. But Man United sit 3rd, and the best of the rest, it seems, at the moment. As we finish here at Old Trafford, it's finished Man United 2, 10-man Crystal Palace 1. And just to confirm the other scores from around the grounds, all the games have finished, and all 3 home teams have won by 2-1. Brighton 2-1 winners against Forest. Fulham putting more misery on Spurs, who are teetering above the relegation zone. A big win for Fulham to take them up to 8th in the table. Brighton as well moving up places, and Manchester United moving up to 3rd after their win over Crystal Palace, who stay 14th. one more game to come this Premier League weekend, and it is at the Emirates as the league leaders Arsenal look to retake a 5-point lead on Manchester City as they take on London rivals Chelsea at 4:30. That's it, 11 games unbeaten for Manchester United, very unheard of in recent times, and they are sailing up the table. And as I said, the best of the rest, it seems at the moment. Palace joining along a lot of the teams in the bottom half, only 2 of the 10 bottom half teams winning this weekend, and all but 1 of the top half teams won this weekend, and that was Aston Villa were the only team to lose in the top half. That's it from us for this one. We'll be back in around about 20 minutes time for Arsenal against Chelsea. Thanks for your company. See you again soon.